take whatever that's coming down our way. See, joy is what helps you love folk. I'm talking about folk who ain't lovable. Joy helps you to love them now. Well, some of y'all say, oh, Lord, are you talking about my... The person next to you saying, yeah, you talking about you. You know the experience, a person, a mother, she's pregnant and she goes through morning sickness. She goes through months and months of, yes, those moments when the baby kicks, but other moments like, oh, cramps, this is not good. These cravings for things. Boy, my back can feel it up to here. I got to get up here and all that. Go through all that 9 months. But when they had that baby to you, you say it's all worth it. It was all worth it. Yes, joy. Oh, it's that young couple that get married. You know how it is. You get married, I do. You marry a reputation. And then after a few days, sometimes only hours, you like the toilet seat up, he likes it down. He wants to put clothes on the floor, you want to put clothes in the hamper. Can you run? And you've got to push through all that craziness, push through all that differences. Because you know when the chips are down, he or she has your back. You know full well that we're going to take this here road, we're going to ride it together. I got your back, you got, it's worth it. Toilet seat up or toilet seat down, I don't know. You go through some difficult times because of joy that comes. The same is true for the believer this morning. The only way you have, the only way to get the joy is through obedience. You get quiet on me on that one, didn't you? I knew you didn't go there. Oh my God. You didn't say obedience, yes I did. I know some of y'all were hoping I was going to say, all you got to do is touch the screen and this is the total screen. And then you got joy. Some of y'all think you figure out, hey, if I celebrate for that prayer call, I got joy. Some of y'all know some folks sitting up this morning, went through Thanksgiving, and this morning they sitting up in bed, and they ain't even out of bed, and they say, oh, I just want some joy in it. The remote don't work. No, I didn't say that. It don't work that way, not for believers this morning. Not for anybody that claims to be a child of God this morning. It don't work that way. You're going to walk in joy in the Lord. You got to obey the Lord. That's why Richard Foster in his book, the Celebration of Discipline, great book, he calls joy a discipline. He says you've got to practice joy. You've got to make up in your mind that joy is going to come into your disposition. Somebody said, I wish that would happen. Because our joy comes from knowing that as we follow Christ, he's going to take care of us. I can't have the assurance, I can't handle what comes up against me unless he gives me joy. And anything less makes my attempt at joy painfully artificial. You're fake. It ain't working. In the midst of a crisis, somebody gonna look and say, well, how's that doing? You begin to put a mask of happiness on. You start to imagine what joy feels like. And then all of a sudden you got a smile and you figure, oh, this is what it is. But I want joy, real joy. And when I get joy, it doesn't matter what season I'm going through. Joy it's not subject to whatever's going on around you. I mean, when I have joy, it don't matter what your headache is. When I have joy, it don't matter if you have a tonight and get a good night's sleep because I got joy. Yes, you have to become a thermostat and not a thermometer. Paul sees it there in the church at Philippi. He says the joy that they have, I want to encourage you in that joy, he says. Right there in Philippians. The church at Philippi, it was not a mixed church. It didn't have a whole lot of stuff going on. It had limited resources in order to do its missions. And yet it was trying to be faithful to what God called it to be as a church. And on top of all that, they were under persecution because of their faith. In other words, they were a church that were in a culture that was in crisis. Somebody know what I'm talking about? And when Paul comes and writes to them, he does not scold them because they are a victim of their environment. He stands up and reminds them, as he reminds each one of us, that you have joy inside of you. I mean, after all, it was a church at Philippi that, out of their limited resources, sent money to a church at Jerusalem that was going through a rough time. And he says, if anything, you, in the midst of all that you did not have, you gave generously to those who were in need. You know, it takes joy. It takes joy to give generously when you don't have much. It really does. He says, I want to encourage you to be generous. Even though you don't have much, even though you're under trying circumstances, even though you're trying to make 2 cents equal 5 cents. I want to encourage you to have joy. And the way you do this is because you have joy. So this morning, number one this morning, if you're writing it down, when you have joy, you need to hold on to it. Hold on to it because it enables you to respect relationships. Yes. Hear me now. You've got joy, hold on to it because it will enable you to respect relationships. In other words, it helps you to love some folk. Come on now. You know how when you interact with folk, it will reveal what your inner posture is. Yeah, some of y'all, you know how it is. You go off on folk. And somebody says something. Verse 5 says, let me see, it says, it helps you to have considerateness, helps you to be gentle, to consider others. It helps you respond to others and speak a word even to those who are your enemies and those who are surrounding you, trying to make you trip up and fall. How do you respond generously to them? Now, God is always concerned about how you treat another person. Yes, He is. Don't go crying to God about, oh, they treated me this way, they treated me that way. Because God will turn around and say, well, how did you treat so-and-so? God is concerned how you treat other folks. Now, don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. Jesus said, He says the greatest commandment is this: love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy soul. And He said, the second is likened unto that: love your neighbor as yourself. John picks it up this way: how can you say you love the Lord and hate your neighbor, and you haven't seen God, but your neighbor you see every day? That's what John puts it that way. How you respond to people is an indication of the joy that you have inside of you. How you respond is about what's in you. It is more of a reminder of what's in you by what comes out of you. Especially when you run into people who know how to push your buttons. I'll tell you that right now. You know something? Come on a minute. I admit it this morning. Somebody knows how to push my button and crazy comes out. It just comes out. Come on. Nobody want to raise their hand. That's all right. That's all right. I'm going to be by myself this morning. Both hands up. Don't push my button. Paul says that when you've got joy, you know how to deal with them. deal with that stuff. Now, let me put it this way. It's what I call sandpaper people. Sandpaper people. You know that? You know, folk who are rough and coarse and difficult to get along. And Lord, all the time, they don't know the word, any other word but complain. You know, I know how it is. I mean, rough folk. They're rough around the edges, rough around everything. And you know, it can bring the best out of you, but that's not what we want to do. But you know, some folk are rough sandpaper people, and they're in our life so that we learn what it means to have that which is coarse and rough rub against us. Make it difficult, make it so that that which is in you might come out of you. And if there's joy in you, then sandpaper people should just bring that joy out. All right. See, joyless people can't be gratitude people. Joyless people lack the capacity. Joyless people are angry folk. Joyless people can't be glad. Joyless people always think half glasses half full, or half empty, or half something, or no water in it at all. I don't care what you do. I don't care how well you cook that Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday. Guess what? At the end of it, they weren't thankful. They weren't gratitude. They weren't had no joy. They wanted to complain. The stuffing wasn't as good as I did. Excuse me. I don't care what you do. They ain't never happened. You can't satisfy them. They're always suspicious, always sarcastic, always bitter. Without joy, you can't be satisfied. That's right. Amen. But the issue this morning is an inward issue. When you have joy, you love folk. Yes. Then he says in verse 5, you got to do it. You got to love other folk with the end in mind. For he says, the Lord is near. That's eschatology this morning. A reference to escalon, when Jesus will return. Those that served and did our first count and talked about the hope. We hope and thank God for the hope that Jesus came, but also for the hope that Jesus is coming again. That's eschatology, the escalon. It is the understanding that Christ will come again, and when he comes again, we've got to give an account of the joy that we have in our lives. Hear me, church, now. Joylessness leads to an injury of somebody else. Ouch. See, if my joylessness wounds somebody, that's right, I've got to give it a